Let's start the show.
It's it's September 4th, 2014. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com.
So pro.
Is that in my ears or was that on the speakers? I couldn't even tell. I'm Will Smith, seated directly behind my left, with a laptop and a phone and a Diet Dr. Pepper. Norman Chan, how are you doing?
I love me the DDP.
DDP is the way to go. Jeremy Williams, I hear you have a little bit of a sniffle. How are you doing today, sir?
Hi, it's more of a congestion. It's more of a sore throat. I'm otherwise well. Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you here. So Norm and I were at PAX this weekend. PAX Prime in Seattle.
This past weekend. It's crazy.
Yeah, you drove.
Mm-hmm.
What you got, like, driving to Seattle? I've driven to Portland before, and that's a long drive. It's like a 10-hour drive.
10 and a half hours to Portland.
Yeah.
And then distance between Portland and Seattle, I believe, is around the 180 or 190 miles.
So another 3 hours, theoretically?
3 hours, yeah, depending on traffic.
So you crashed in Portland?
No.
Oh, really?
The left at 7:30 on Thursday.
Dude.
And got there at 2:30 a.m. Friday morning. Now do the math.
So
how many hours is that?
That's 19 hours.
17 hours.
7:30 to midnight is 5 plus 12 is 17 plus another 2 is
I was going to say
19.
18. But,
18 hours
yeah,
of driving. That's a lot.
Why did you? Okay, but if it's only a 15-hour drive, why did it take you 18 hours?
Because
19 hours.
We took the long way.
Oh, you went up. You went up the coast.
Up the coast, and no traffic up the coast, but also gas stops, food stops.
It's a lot further up the coast too. Yeah.
Wow, dude. What did you stop in Portland? You couldn't. Did
We
you?
stopped in Portland for
Did
dinner.
you?
Stopped in
Okay.
Portland for dinner, and that was, I guess, on 9. Wait. Stopped in Portland for dinner. I guess it was a little late. It was about 10 o'clock.
It was. I saw the tweet. It was like 10 o'clock. I was playing board
10
games
o'clock,
by then.
and got Voodoo Donuts.
No, oh, yeah, I saw that.
You can't stop in Portland and not get Voodoo Donuts. And the best part is if you're just driving through Portland, you stop at Voodoo Donuts number 2, which is the bigger one.
Oh, I didn't know that.
With a parking lot and also closer to I-5 and some gas.
It's over in like Southeast Burnside or something, right?
Northeast Burnside.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool, dude.
So I was sitting playing board games with people, and you tweeted that picture of the Voodoo Donuts. And some of the people at my table were from Portland and talked a lot of smack about your Voodoo Donuts, which I'd never heard.
Fantastic.
Why did they talk smack?
They said that Voodoo Donuts, while an acceptable donut, is far from the greatest donut you can get in Portland.
Oh, wow.
Which, you know,
I'm sure that there are better donuts in Portland, but if you want the classic pink box and you want the Voodoo Donut, and they have crazy flavors of donut. There's a donut that I think they used to make with Diamond Tap. There's a donut
with what?
Diamond Tap.
What's Diamond Tap?
Diamond Tap's the cold medicine. Jeremy
Diamond Tap.
Diamond Tap.
Yeah.
Diamond Tap. However you say it. The sense memory is with anyone who grew up in the 80s or 90s or maybe 70s or 80s is the grape flavor. You know, it's the liquid.
Fake grape flavor is a common
grape flavor
thing,
is Diamond Tap.
I love it.
And they have that flavor on top of a donut. They have my favorite donut's called the Old Dirty Bastard, which is a massive fluffy donut with fudge and crumbled Oreos and then peanut butter on top.
Oh my god!
A lot of people go for the famous Voodoo Donut, which is a donut shaped like a voodoo doll, and filled with jelly, blood jelly, and and everyone is unique because they draw a face on it. And then a lot of people also go for the maple bacon, which is a big maple bar with 2 strips of bacon on top.
Pretty good.
I'm over the maple bacon. I think the bacon is not fantastic.
I'll tell you the secret. They make a phenomenal apple fritter there. It doesn't look like anything. It doesn't have any breakfast cereal glued on the top. It's just a really good apple fritter with some enormous chunks of apple in it.
So Voodoo Donut, I mean, it's very popular along lines. It's featured on a bunch of travel shows. I bet there are plenty of great donut places in Portland, but that's the place I want to go when driving through Portland for the big box of donuts.
There's nothing wrong with that, Norm.
Nothing wrong with it.
Did you load up? Did you carb up for the last 3-4 hours of the drive?
Yes, so we got a dozen donuts, and that lasted next couple days.
Oh, God.
Gross.
And then on the way back, I was we'll take a long road trip. It's always the worst on the way back because you're not getting anywhere for fun. You're just going home, and you're already tired, and you just want to go home. And if coming back could be a plane ride, I would take that instant. But the car was up there, so maybe we'll take take it easy the way back and take 2 days. But nope, we decided to bullet back down. Did stop back in Portland and did also get Voodoo Donuts for the way back.
Wow.
I believe I still have some of those.
Double donut. So when I do a long road trip and I'm coming back, I always do the thing where I think, I'll stop like 8 hours out from home and sleep and then get up the next day and be refreshed and get home at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? But then what happens is at 9 o'clock when it's time to stop driving, I always get to the point where I'm like, fuck it, man, we could just push through. Let's just get this done. And I do the exact same thing you did. And instead of stopping in like Rogue River, Oregon, I'll just drive all the way back. And then am ruined for the next 2 days because I was up until 3 o'clock in the morning and, get the nice wake up in your own bed thing, but it's not the same. You guys were just talking about the Game Gods, which I didn't realize. You did that in the next, sorry, you guys are both PC Gamer alums.
Yeah.
And you were both there in the era of the next Game Gods.
Yeah.
The most famous cover
We only
of
brought
2000.
We only brought that up because that was the one and only time I've been in Seattle.
Really? I would have thought you'd be a Seattle person. It seems like it's your speed. You like coffee?
I love Seattle. The one time I've been there, I loved it. So
It's great.
I would go back.
Some context for youngins who have no idea. Magazines? What are those? Back, I believe, in 1999, that was when Gary Whitta, who used to be the third chair on the podcast, was the editor of the magazine, of PC Gamer magazine. He set up a big cover feature called The Game Gods.
Yep.
This was his
called Game Gods, and it was classy, and he got a big round table of all the most notable game developers
Of the 80s and 90s.
of the 80s and 90s.
It was like Sid Meier and
on the cover, which I'm looking at the cover right now, it's a classy. It's like a school portrait almost, but taken seriously. You have John Carmack, Sid Meier in the middle, and Richard Garriott, looking like the uncles you love.
Indisputable Game
Gods in classy font and everything. The world's 25 greatest game makers together for the first time. What a concept!
it's a pretty good idea.
Talking about game development, and then there's a big photo. I guess they did two spreads, right?
Yeah.
They
I think there were actually two shoots.
two photo
Yeah.
shoots. Which I recall that. And I can't even name half these people. I see Warren Spector.
Molyneux.
There's Peter Molyneux right there. That's Richard Garriott. It's Chris Roberts right there. And
Will Wright was there probably.
Yep, Will Wright, I believe, was there. It's titans of industry, the people who made your favorite games. Jane Jensen, I believe, was she there?
I know Roberta Williams.
Roberta
was.
Williams, that's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking of. She was there. Yeah, there are two halves to it. All right. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there goes Will Wright, Roberta Williams.
That was Gabe. Look at that. Right
Gabe Newell
center.
right in the middle, dressed as a suit.
That's
wow.
pre-Steam days.
A young Gabe Newell.
That's
Yep.
post Half-Life, but pre anything else probably, maybe even before Counter-Strike. What
So a fantastic, and everyone's in like khakis, and everyone's having a good time. Awesome. September 1999, I believe, was the issue. I bet you can find it on eBay.
I don't think it sold very well.
Really?
I don't think so.
Oh.
why did
But-
they do it again if it didn't sell well?
That's a good question. I don't know.
So 1 year later, in the span of 1 year, the world had changed. Gary would have left PC Gamer magazine to found Total Movie magazine
Yes.
in L.A. The usurper Rob Smith had come in from PC Accelerator magazine
Ruining the magazine.
to spearhead PC Gamer. Jeremy, you then were hired. You were there.
I was there under Witta. I actually started under William Harms.
Oh.
I was the webmaster.
Sad King Billy?
Okay.
Yeah, and then I became the disc editor and previews editor.
So you were there for the regime change.
disc editor.
Disc editor, that's right. You were the disc editor. Regime change, and I believe that was also my first month
Yeah,
when you guys are finishing that issue.
Oh, really?
Because I remember the cover discussion. So not but a year later, why not do a follow up feature?
Of course.
Cover feature.
Why
It-
not?
It sold so well. It was so notable. So the feature was called The Next Game Gods, and it brought in a dozen, I believe.
On the cover, Cliffy B.
Well, yeah, a dozen of up and coming game developers who the kingmakers at PC Gamer decided would be the next game gods. And who are on the cover?
I have the list.
Well, on the cover was
Okay.
Cliffy B,
Cliff Bleszinski, you mean?
Alex Garden,
At the time, he was Cliffy B.
Developer, creator of Homeworld.
Oh, great.
Far left, American McGee.
Because he must have been working on Alice at the time.
Yeah,
Yes.
Alice was pretty good.
And he was a spin-off of the id days.
Yeah.
Right, level designer. And then second to the left, Stevie Case.
Who?
She worked on Daikatana.
Yes.
Another
Level designer at Daikatana.
Daikatana must not have come out at this point.
I don't think that came out until...
I think I was at Maximum PC, but when Daikatana
The
came out.
demo came out on our July 2000 disc.
Oh, that's right.
So,
After
Will,
I started.
you have
I
a
had
list.
that. I have. I'm looking at magazine rips online because that's what you do. Brad McQuaid was also there. He was, if you remember, he was the guy who was behind the original designer behind EverQuest. So he was the guy who made EverQuest hard, like modern MMOs, piece of cake compared to original EverQuest. You could spend 2 weeks going from level 3 to level 4 in EverQuest
Seriously?
1. It was really hard.
Wow.
Ed Del Castillo. I don't know who that is. Ken Levine. Whatever happened to that guy?
Kim Ken Levine.
Mr. Bioshock.
And then Robin Walker from Valve Software, who's released, I think, one pretty awesome title since then. Team Fortress 2.
So, you were involved in that story. And that was the first and only time you went to Seattle was to organize the gathering of the next Game Gods. Now, we're not conveying this properly because for those of you who've never read the issue, the presentation of the next Game Gods, keep in mind this was the year 2000, right after 2000, right after The Matrix came out, was to get all Matrix-like. So everyone was wearing leather, black leather, trench coats.
It was pretty Matrixy.
Necklaces.
Well, that was just for the photo shoot.
For the photo shoot.
It was one of the highest privileges of my time at PC Gamer to be in that room, I must say. I mean, I was a fly on the wall. I had nothing to contribute because all these geniuses were talking about their ideal game designs and trying not to share too much with each other, but trying to share more than they might with the general public. And it was a really interesting discussion.
I like this sidebar from the mouth of gods. They asked Gabe Newell some questions. Of the new crop of developer talent, who would you pick as an up-and-coming game god? Min Lee is an amazing talented developer who's gone largely unnoticed. Since he doesn't work at a traditional games company, he's the guy who made Counter-Strike.
Right. Min, or Gooseman as he is known online, helped create Counter-Strike, a Half-Life mod that has more people playing it than Quake 3 Arena and Unreal Tournament combined. Check it out on this month's CD.
That's where I got my version of Counter-Strike, just so you know, from that copy of the magazine.
On the disc?
Yeah, it came on the disc.
Wow.
Before Steam. You had to download stuff. It was big. I like that he says, when they ask, what are you working on now? Oh, this and that. We're all very busy. Gabe. Should we talk about some technology news?
Yeah, man.
Well, let's talk about PAX. We haven't really finished talking about PAX.
Do we want to talk about PAX? Okay.
Yeah.
I figured okay.
So that was a little Seattle tangent.
Seattle.
But now
yes.
we're back in Seattle.
Yes, we're looping around Seattle. PAX was this past weekend.
Some stuff happened.
There were a lot of games.
Did you play games?
I did play some games. Let's talk
Okay.
about each of the games that we played.
Okay.
I played IDARB for the first time.
Oh, you never played IDARB before?
I've never played IDARB before.
How do you spell that?
IDARB.
I think it's I drew a red box is what it stands for.
Okay.
Yes, and this is Mike Micah's game. For people who don't know, Mike Micah, who's it's a friend of Gary's, friend of the site.
Former future guy.
Yes, if you followed popular mainstream game culture and some the news, he was the dad who reprogrammed Donkey Kong to put. I guess the prince it's
Pauline.
not Peach, Pauline as the hero of Donkey Kong for his daughter, which is awesome. And he's been working on the game with his game company that is kind of crowdsourced the game design. And they take suggestions online, and it started with a red box, and it went from there. And now it's this kind of soccer, basketball, 8-player platformer.
Well, but it also is designed to be streamed.
Yes.
So when you have it's an Xbox One game, it actually uses the Kinect in a really interesting way, because when you're streaming, apparently I've never watched an IDARB stream, which I probably should at some point. People were watching when I played with Mike and some other guys that were around the Xbox One booth over the weekend. They were watching both us play the game and then video of us standing in front of the TV screaming at each other and high-fiving and stuff. And then people watching the Twitch stream could put hashtags on Twitter with hashtag IDARB and hashtag other stuff to actually change the game. So like they would make us into clown mode. Like they would do something on Twitter that would make all of our characters' avatars turn into clowns instead of what we had chosen to begin with.
So when the games begin, there's a hashtag that pops up. Maybe I think it's a unique hashtag for each game, or in your Twitch chat room, it'll pull from that chat feed also, and you can change the rules. People can weird things, unpredictable things can happen.
So it's not just visual changes; it can actually change the gameplay.
Yes, a little bit. So it's a competitive game, 8-player max, and the basic premise of the game is it's kind of like basketball, platformer basketball.
Sounds great. One of the best times I've ever had is playing TF2 basketball.
Yes.
You remember that?
And this is side scrolling.
This is side scrolling.
Okay.
But the physics
TF2 basketball's pretty good though.
TF2 basketball is fantastic. The physics are fantastic, and they've tuned it so it feels really good to get one of those, like to shoot the ball. And it's very much like a classic game. We get one button to pass, one button to shoot. There are platforms you can jump under, or platforms you can fall through.
There's like a stun and steal button.
They use heat maps with thousands of hours of gameplay to design the level, so they know like it's very. To me, felt a little like foosball like, where when you get close to the goal, there's a designated area for your defenders, and it's not easy to you have to like pull some acrobatic maneuver to get into a good spot to pull an alley-oop or to shoot right into the goal.
You get more points from shooting further away. So there's all sorts of good risk reward stuff happening.
And one of the cool things is that on their website you can actually design an 8-bit character and share it with other people and load it into the game with a QR code, and you can actually design it in the game as well.
Are we in there?
We're supposed to reach out to Micah and design characters. And Jeremy, would you like to be a character?
I'd love it.
We can design.
We need a 6-man team.
We can design us and Gary and
Chloe
and maybe Chloe.
Why 6?
Because that's how many people are on a team.
Okay.
So like we played as Worms a lot. I played as Worms. There's like Minecraft characters. There's all sorts of questionably, copyright questionable stuff, but I think it all just lives on the website and it's not in the actual game. I think you just shoot the QR code and it gives the characters in the game.
When's it coming out?
This fall.
Nice.
So yeah,
soonish. Yeah. Very excited to play that for the first time.
Did you play Evolve?
I did not play Evolve. So Evolve is the game by 2K, published by 2K, picked up by 2K, but developed by Turtle Rock Studios. These are the ex-Valve guys who were bought by Valve because they've invented Left 4 Dead.
Right. So we met them at a PC Gamer LAN party once, where they brought Left 4 Dead right after they'd been acquired by Valve, or right before they were acquired by Valve, or some. I don't remember the deal. It was a huge hit there. This game takes a lot of the concepts of Left 4 Dead. The 4 people that are cooperative versus a unknown enemy, but it's actually a 5-player game. So one person plays the monster, 4 people play humans. Instead of having just the same abilities and you choose kind of your role based on the weapons you pick up as you do in Left 4 Dead, each player has a class, and they all have different roles to play. So there's a pure damage, there's a healer, there's a debuffer, snarer kind of person, and then there's a general utility class. And then the thing about the monster is you're in this arena, you're locked in with a bunch of other kind of monsters and animals and critters, and the monster grows and evolves by eating other animals. So you eat the animals, you eat a certain number of animals, you have the opportunity to evolve. You eat some more animals, get some shields back, and you have to play as the monster, you play a real kind of hit and fade game where you kind of go in, attack the humans a little bit, do some damage, and then get the hell away, go eat some more stuff, recharge your shields, and kind of come in and out. On the other hand, the humans' goal is to keep you trapped in place. So the humans have abilities like one of them can drop a shield bubble that puts a dome around a certain part of the map that will lock anything that's outside out and anything that's inside in.
So that you can't evolve anymore.
No, so that you can't run away.
Okay.
because evolving takes time. So evolving takes, say, 30 or 40 seconds. After you evolve, you don't have any shields anymore. I don't think there's a way to regenerate health. You maybe get a little bit back when you evolve. But each time you evolve, you get bigger and you get more abilities, more points to spend on abilities and stuff like that. So that you know, like the monster I played, abilities included like blowing fireballs or fire streams, picking up chunks of rock and throwing them at people, charging to kind of escape, and double jumping. It's all about vertical mobility. Like the humans have, the monster can climb, you know, King Kong style. The humans can kind of jetpack around. And it was in fairness, we were playing with a developer or a PR guy standing over our shoulder, kind of telling us what to do, looking over our shoulder, even playing with us a couple of times. But we were able to do pretty good both as the monster and as the human. And like it's super compelling. I don't know how they're going to work with matchmaking and stuff like that. I think they're still figuring that part out, because it's like some people, like there are some classes that you're probably not going to want to play depending on what your kind of first-person shooter play style is. Some people are never going to want to play the monster. Some people are always going to want to play the monster, and they're working on different ways to kind of make that matchmaking stuff happen. But like I played 2 or 3 rounds, and immediately I could have turned around and just gone right back in. Like I could have spent the rest of the afternoon happily playing that game. It's super strong.
That sounds awesome.
Asymmetric.
Yeah, asymmetric. Good co-op. Like it's the kind of thing you want to play with friends. You're not going to play that in a random group, I don't think.
It sounds like at some point the monster becomes so powerful it's game over for the humans.
So the monster can only evolve 3 times. Generally, in order to do that, so when you're evolving, you're kind of helpless. There's a lot of environmental triggers that will tell the humans where you are, as well as some of the human classes have like tracking devices and sensors and stuff like that. Like one of the class's whole role is to fire harpoons, drop the shield dome that traps the monster inside, and fire sensors around, and then obviously shoot as time allows. But most of the time, you're just firing harpoons trying to slow the monster down. You can trap the monster outside the bubble and all your guys inside. You can trap 2 of your guys. You know, you can trap any subset of your team outside the bubble, which is super bad. Like, you don't want that. I think the humans, if they go down 3 times, are dead. So it's like a TKO kind of system. So typically what you want to do is try to knock one human out and then go after the other humans while they're coming back to revive the first guy before he bleeds out. But it was a really interesting way to have that, like getting that to feel powerful for the monster, but not too powerful for the humans to defeat, is a real tricky balance, and I felt like they did a pretty good job. I mean, who knows if it'll hold up when people get good at the game and are playing it for more than 10-minute chunks, but we'll see. I think they're going to do an alpha later this year. I also played Beyond Earth, which is not Alpha Centauri. It seemed like Sid
You did
Meier's.
play
I played Beyond Earth.
Oh, I would sit on the floor at all.
It wasn't on the floor. I made an appointment.
So Sid Meier's next game.
Yep.
That's like Alpha Centauri, but not. I want to hear about this.
It is pretty well. Okay, so I had 40 minutes, I think, to play. I basically just sat down. They were like, "Hey, have you played Civ 5?" I said, "Yeah, I've played Civ 5." And well, okay, have fun. If you have any questions, ask. You start out as colonist on a planet. It's not Alpha Centauri, but it is a planet that is presumably close enough to be in high demand for Earthbound colonists. And it's works just like Civ 5, but with a different kind of tech tree. There's aliens. There's different resources to collect. Like I don't think I ever played Alpha Centauri, so it's difficult for me to say, hey, this is just like Alpha Centauri. If you go back and try to play Alpha Centauri now, it kind of doesn't work very well because the resolution of monitors are too big and like the controls are maddening because it's a 1999 or 2000 game, I think. But it scratched my Civ 5 itch in a way that wasn't, but starting with a really fairly advanced tech tree and moving forward. Looked really good. Really pretty too. So that's pretty much, I played a little bit of the new Borderlands game, but it is more Borderlands. That's okay. You can play as Claptrap.
So a bunch of other indie games I played, some coming out for PC, some for console. There's a game that I played at Xbox booth that I think is also coming out on PC called, and I think it's my favorite name for a video game.
Holland, can I guess?
You know what it is.
Okay.
It's called Lovers in a Dangerous Spacetime.
Oh, that was what I was going to guess, but that game is great.
Lovers in a Dangerous Spacetime. fantastic name. Could be like a rock album or something. And it's a 2-player cooperative game that where you're inside a ship. It looks like you're looking through a cross section of a spaceship, as if the spaceship was a sphere, and you just cut it in half, and you see its decks, kind of like a Okudagram if you follow Star Trek. And there's like 6 different rooms, and you as small 2 little avatars each run through ladders and jump through the ship to control different control stations to control the ship. There's one control station that controls navigation, that moves the ship through the universe. There's each of the corners could be a control different turret. There's one control station that moves the shield around the ship, like a shield barrier, and one that activates like a powerful weapon, a charged up weapon. And the idea is that you're traveling through the galaxy, and then there's one that activates a world map, and you're traveling through the galaxy, shooting little asteroids, saving rabbits, and unlocking hearts. And the design is beautiful. It's whimsy. It's kind of like Space Team.
It's really frantic, is what I found.
And I'm not sure that the balance is perfectly there, because one person could just play navigation the entire time. I'm sure that's not going to be the best way to play it. But I think the premise is really cool.
So that was there. I played that last year, and it has gotten much tighter. It is I can't wait for that game to come out. It is really, really pretty and really fun for 2 players.
The friends at Harmonix announced and had on a demo a new small game that they've been working on. It's not a music game, really, although there are music elements. It's a 2-6 shooter, and it's called A City Sleeps.
Is it A City Sleeps or The City Sleeps?
I think A City Sleeps. Okay. And you play some hero that's in going through the world of dreams. Every level is someone's dream, and you can call on these ghost avatars, ghost powers, to help you. But it's very frantic, like a 2-6, like your Geometry War style 2-6 shooter. It looks good. I'm not super into the visual style, but the music element is that as you destroy things and you play the game, that activates the music, and so the soundtrack is really cool.
I played Centris, Samantha Kalman's game. The music, it's like concentric rings of music. It's a puzzle game that you make music with. It's neat. It's on early access now. People can go buy it if they want to try it out. I enjoyed it. But I also on the list, I played Distance, which is a Wipeout 2048. Is that right? It's like a Wipeout style, not Wipeout the TV show, but Wipeout the
racing game,
the high-speed racing game style racing game, where you frequently have to like double jump and fly through rings. So you kind of transition from driving to flying to driving to flying, and you can fly through some shortcuts and stuff like that. It goes really, really fast. Which is a kind of hallmark of those games. But the thing I liked about it is it was tuned so that you kind of used boost as liberally as you wanted, because you kept recharging boost and recharging boost and recharging boost. It was a thoroughly enjoyable game.
What are the physics like? Is it really floaty like the Wipeout games?
The car driving bits felt really tight, like F-Zero tight, maybe. Where while the flying bits were appropriately floaty. And if you impacted something, then all of a sudden you would spin out of control as if you had very little friction. So you had to, like, the neat thing about it though was, how in Wipeout you'll sometimes like lose control, bounce off the edge, and flip out of the track. Yeah. With this, you could just hit double jump and use the flight controls to kind of fly back into the track if you had enough boost to get there. So it was neat. Like I think when you're flying, you have to be using boost. I never exactly was able to figure that out without dying. So like the amount of boost you have is the gate for how much flying you can do. I also played a bunch of board games. I played Slap 45, which is a Kickstarter right now. It's kind of like War in that people are drawing cards and you put your hand down on the table to indicate things. But instead of being War, it's the 3 cards that drop are a 6-shooter, a cannon, and a horse. If you put your hand down on the horse, you take damage. If you do the pistol, you point at someone, you slap the pistol, point at someone, they take damage. If you get the cannon, unless they're in cover, a whole other thing to get into, the cannon does damage whether you have cover or not. It was super. It was an interesting. I played that with Harley Quinn. It seemed like so. She was very into the gun bits.
A couple games I want to talk about.
Okay.
I think we all played this game. Dan Amrick, our friend Dan Amrick, introduced me to this Mommy's Best Games. They make these weird offbeat games that are on Steam and Xbox Live. There's one called Serious Sam Double XXL. But the game they had showing there was called Pig Eat Ball.
Pig Eat Ball was really good.
Pig Eat Ball. 4-player, very retro looking, like kind of like Zombies Ate My Neighbors style game. The logo kind of looks like Miss Pac-Man.
Kinda.
Kinda.
Like Miss Pac-Man. You play as a piggy, and you run around and top down. You live on a space station. You got to eat these tennis balls, the yummies, and the more you eat, the bigger you get. And so each level, you have it's like very Pac-Man-esque 4-player running around, either destroying blocks, eating balls, doing other objectives.
If you can charge though, there's an
Yes,
offensive
you can
about, so you
charge,
can make people the other
burst.
pigs throw up the balls.
Yeah, and it's competitive.
Then you eat their vomited up
Yes,
balls.
Yeah, so it's very cute, very novel. But the coolest thing with this game is it also ties into there's feedback, force feedback. So you sit on a rumble pad, like this colored pad.
Yeah.
And
Where do I find such a rumble pad?
they will, I guess they'll sell it.
Okay.
It seemed like that was just for PAX when I asked. Yeah. The game's still good.
I really hope they release the PAX
The
because
game is good without the butt rumble.
The butt rumble is the most exciting thing. Was so fun because you're staring at the screen, you're like intensely chasing down these balls,
Yeah.
and then you ram into someone's. You can't ram to the front, but if you ram to their rear end,
Yeah.
then
Or
their
side,
butt rumbles.
yeah.
And if you're just like intensely tracking these balls and getting on these conveyor belts and breaking blocks, and suddenly this guy's chasing you, and you're like, oh no, and then he slams into you, and then your butt rumbles. It is jarring and delightful in a way that I have not experienced a party game being
So
for a long time.
I will tell you, you can make anyone's butt rumble. All they had done was cut a hole in the side of the Xbox 360 controller and wired one of the rumble motors up to the butt rumblers. So if we can find a source for butt rumblers, we can make all of your Xbox controllers do that, Norm.
It's an
That
expensive mod.
is a thing we
Yes.
can do.
Buy some GameStop ones.
Exactly.
GameStop game controllers.
Can you turn me down a tad?
Generic ones. I also played Broforce.
Oh, Broforce is out on Steam.
Is Broforce out on Steam?
It is a Steam game. It's early access, maybe, but
maybe
yeah,
it's early access.
it's a side scroller.
It's a
Just a world destructible side scroller with characters that are not explicitly are not from 80s action movies.
They look like they're from action. It's looks. It's a lot
MacGyver
like-
makes an appearance.
It's a visually, it's a lot like Super Time Force, 8-bit games. You know, very colorful side scroller. The world is very destructible. You can only shoot left and right. You can't shoot up. But 4 players can play, and you unlock heroes. And these heroes, they have
Co-op.
dozens of them. Co-op.
That's cool.
And the heroes are all variants of your favorite action heroes from the 80s, 90s, and the 1000s.
Yes.
There's
And they keep adding more, it
and
seems like.
every month they're adding a new one. And in terms of games, and they all do different things. Like Indiana Jones their Indiana Jones character throws dynamite. Blade has a burst attack with a knife. They might even add the Bride from Kill Bill. There's of course Chuck Norris. There's Commando.
Rambo looks like.
Rambo is definitely in there. Will Smith from Men in Black is in there.
That's great. Is there a Neo?
I don't know if there's a Neo, but the maps look fantastic. It's ridiculous, and it was a ton of fun. And I believe there is an early access that has the 4 Expendables characters that you can play for free right now.
Oh, that's interesting. Did you play the N++ multiplayer?
I did not play that.
So I played that with 4 random people and had an absolute wonderful time. Do you remember N++?
Yeah.
It was a Flash game, I
Yeah.
think, originally. Then it came out on all the consoles. So they added 4-player competitive racing through the levels, but they made the levels virtually impossible if you were playing by yourself. So like there'll be a line of mines in the way that I don't think you could dodge, and you have to wait for somebody to take the hit and then jump through and hope you get through before they respawn. It was devious, fiendish. I think the most interesting thing I played was this thing called Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes.
Oh, I want to say that for the very end because it will transition to the technology talk.
Damn, you
Oh.
guys played some games.
It's
I was there
PAX.
for 3 days.
What are you going to do when you're at PAX except for hang out
Did you
and
play
play
board
games?
games?
I did not play any board games.
When you played board games, how did you find your people to do that with?
I have a couple of friends who were like hey, text me if you play board games.
Yeah.
And then I posted on Twitter when we wanted to play something that was like a 5-player game and only had 2 or 3 people, and 2 people showed up.
Cool.
Yeah. So I met Taylor and Dave, I think. No, not Dave. Mike. Dave was the guy sitting next to us who also recognized the site. So we played Waterdeep. We played a game called Ugtect on Thursday night. That is a game about being a caveman architect. This is probably good with kids. You have like 4 or 5 blocks and pieces of cardboard and stuff. And basically the goal of the game, if you're the Ugtect, is to make the blocks look like they do on a card that you draw. So you have to race the other team to complete your sculpture first. But you can only use the language that the game allows. So the game, like, you have motion descriptions for this means like red block.
Yeah.
And then you say gungu, which means put it in front of the other ones.
Sounds great for kids.
It is great for kids. But you have an inflatable club that you can use to tell people whether they get something correct or incorrect. So you if it's correct, you bang them once on the head.
Little bam bam.
If it's incorrect, you bang them twice on the head. It was a good kind of party game to meet people.
Is there
that you don't
any
necessarily
speaking
know.
at all in the game?
Well, you say caveman words.
Yeah.
Ogungu,
But
and
no English.
Kogungu, and no English.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, penalties for
What's
English.
it called?
It's called Ugtect,
Got it.
and it has 2 inflatable clubs, so you're not going to go wrong with that.
2.
I also played Coup, which is the new Resistance game. Have you guys played that yet, Norm?
Yeah, we played it last year and way earlier this year. We'll go back to it.
It's not. Yeah, I like conceptually. I like
Kickstarter
it,
game.
but it seems like it doesn't really have legs.
Yeah.
You can't get enough information, I guess.
I'm just super proud of myself for playing Settlers of Catan finally.
Ooh,
That's it. Like, the last board game I played was Monopoly.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
There are easier
Welcome to-
games than Settlers to get into that are actually more fun. Settlers is a little bit of a commitment.
Do you guys play Waterdeep at all? Lords of Waterdeep?
No.
Well, I haven't. Maybe people will tell us to.
Okay.
Firewatch was there. They unveiled a trailer.
They showed gameplay at the
They
panel
showed
that I was at.
gameplay, and not playable. But this is the game made by the ex Telltale
Campo
guys,
Santo?
Campo Santo, and they are the
Idle Thumbs.
all the Idle Thumbs guys, plus Ollie Moss as their art director,
and Chris Remo, and they have a bunch of people. They have
Some real
an
talent.
8-man team. Yeah.
Yes. So that game looks fantastic from the trailer.
What kind of game is it?
It's a mystery.
Okay.
But it's a little bit open. Okay, so the gameplay that they showed in the panel made it seem like it was a little bit open world, which I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate. But you can kind of experiment with stuff in the world in a way that kind of reminded me of Gone Home. So you can pick up a lot of objects, you can carry them with you, you can put them in your backpack, you can put them in other places. It didn't seem like that immediately made me think it was like a LucasArts style adventure game where you have to collect all the stuff and then use the antlers and the radio and the D-cell batteries to make a weapon. It's not that kind of game at all. It's more that there's just a lot of interesting interaction that can happen as you're exploring the world. And then your main point of contact and the way the story drives is this: you have a radio. So you're in a fire watchtower in like the Wyoming wilderness. Your boss and the only human that you regularly talk to is this woman named Delilah, who's on the other end of the radio. She's in presumably one of the adjoining watchtowers. And you have to explore the story of this guy who decided he wanted to go live in the wilderness by himself for 6 months or a year, or however long you do that for.
It really does feel like a Walking Dead style adventure game with the conversations and the things that have effects, but also combined with the Gone Home style of first person exploring and mystery solving. And they're using all their play tests to add more dialogue stuff in, so the weird things that people do will have effects. I think it'll be open world in the sense that you won't be able to go to the next area, or events won't happen until you achieve a certain task.
Or like you get an item, like you get a rappelling rope, and then you can go down the cliff.
And then there will be time jumps, I think, forward, in which the things that you do before the time jump. So you know how in The Walking Dead, between the episodes, the things that you did affect the things in the next episode? That'll happen within the one game with their time jumps.
One of the things that was interesting was they talked about this. So it's a Unity game, but they talked about using stuff from the Unity store, and they're buying like lighting stuff and things to help manage all the dialogue and stuff like that as Unity plugins that they're just so they're not having to write a lot of that stuff themselves, which is really neat.
Asset store is amazing.
It seems pretty crazy.
One specific thing they talked about was, for example, you can take a screenshot of their game and download that into Photoshop, and the art director can tweak that and then upload back up, and it'll process it so the effects that he made on the textures and the look will get implemented in the engine.
The game has a really unique look, visual style that doesn't necessarily convey in screenshots, I would say. Let's see. I played Broken Age. Sorry, not Broken Age.
The new one?
Massive Chalice.
Massive Chalice.
I'm singing Double Fine. I was oh yeah, Broken Age. No, I got to play Massive Chalice. You know, it hit all my XCOM urges.
Really?
It's a little more melee focused. But the neat thing about it that I didn't realize is that you actually have like a whole genealogy simulator. So you control heroes, and you can place them in the strategy game bits. But then when the strategy game bits end, you can set up arrange marriages between different lines of your nobles, and like that passes traits down. So you kind of felt like you had this in Rogue Legacy, but it didn't really. It seemed like it was kind of random after you played a lot. This, you can take one class and another class and make a hybrid class out of them by playing over, I think it's like, thousands of years, hundreds of years, thousands of years. It seemed like, in XCOM, when you hit the fast forward button and it goes through hours and then days, this seemed like it was going through months and then years. You're fighting against encroaching darkness or something in your kingdom. I don't know about that stuff, but the combat was good. And the genealogy stuff looked super interesting.
And that stuff is procedural?
It seems like it, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's all. I mean, it's a Brad Muir game, so he's usually pretty deep into procedural stuff. So,
have you seen Universe Sandbox 2?
Yes.
No.
It's a pre-alpha right now that you can buy into, but it is a sandbox. It's Universe Simulator. The first one is on Steam actually. You can get right now.
Can I change Planck's constant?
I don't know exactly what in physics you can change, but you can definitely change the attributes of celestial bodies. It's a open world sandbox simulator. You just are a window into the galaxy, and you can just create your own solar systems and your own galaxies by dropping celestial bodies and just see how they react.
And fast forward time, I assume.
And fast forward time. So the demo they were showing at PAX, the guy was just like, oh, what if let's drop 50 comets around Earth and see what happens, and then speed up time and see or what happens if the solar system had 2 suns, or what happens if we had 8 moons but they're all too close.
Wow.
And then incredible effects. So you're playing God, and it looked awesome.
I played a couple other things that I want to talk about briefly. I played Hotline Miami 2, which is just more Hotline Miami with more guns and more masks, and like that game is awesome. Looks awesome. The music's still rad. And it's super violent if you're into that whole thing. It seems like the new one's maybe a little bit harder than the old one. I had a little bit of a challenge with the level they were demoing. I watched a ton of people play Below, but didn't get a chance to play it. There was an enormous line the entire time. It's the new game from Cappy. It's coming out next year. They're the Super Time Force and I think Super Brothers folk. And it's got some procedural parts and then some kind of story-driven, designed parts. It seemed neat. And I played a game called Ori and the Dark Forest or the Blind Forest or something like that. That is absolutely gorgeous. Like the most really phenomenal art. It was in the Xbox One section of the floor. I don't know what else it's coming to, but it was a neat kind of Metroidvania. Apologies, where you have to explore this gorgeous side-scrolling world, and the animation on the main character was deliberate and unbelievable to the point like she was reaching up and grabbing stuff, and it's really a neat looking game. It has some neat platforming elements when you get further into the game.
How long are the longest lines?
The line for Evolve, which was probably the longest, was maybe 2 hours.
Wow.
They usually cap them.
Yeah.
So, there'll be an enforcer standing at the end of the line that says, hey, this line's full, come back in 2 hours. The best way to get into the stuff that has the long lines is usually to go very first thing in the morning, or right at 10 o'clock when the door opens, and you can usually get right there. My advice is usually don't wait in line for stuff. Like, you can walk around the Indie Mega booth and play 10 games in an hour easily. You can go to the 6th floor and play games in that open area and play a ton of great stuff. It's just like it's going to be like whatever Microsoft's showing, like the Bloodborne line, which is the game from the Sony game that's the follow up to Dark Souls. That line was ridiculous the whole time. I didn't play that. I didn't wait in line for that. But yeah, so that's and keep talking and nobody explodes. This was probably my favorite thing at PAX. I went down with a couple of friends and we sat down at this game. It's one Oculus Rift. One person wears an Oculus Rift.
Oh, this is the bomb defusing
This is the bomb defusing game. Everyone else sits around a table and they have a manual. That's a bomb defusing manual.
Now, what is that? Is that a printout or is that an iPad?
It is a printout in a binder, like paper. You can write notes on it. So these guys...
You could play it on an iPad, but it best as a printout.
Yeah. More authentic.
I think you could do the Oculus part on an iPad pretty easily.
You would have to have no visual, other contact with other person in a separate room or
facing away or something like that. Yeah.
Being the person that's defusing the bomb being stuck with all their senses, visual senses, being in that game is partially what makes that game exciting.
So yeah, if you're to put it in the terms of 24, which many of us are familiar with, the person wearing the Oculus is Jack Bauer. He's faced with a bomb of unknown make and origin. The people with the binder are Chloe, sitting back at CTU, opening ports and business, flipping dramatically through the manual to figure out how to defuse the bomb. So when you sit down at the table, the guys had a little postcard that everybody wrote their names on. You wrote how many times you'd done it before. You wrote the difficulty level you wanted, and then you took notes on the far side. And at the end, they stamped it either succeeded or failed. So you had a little memento of the game. It was very clever. When you sit down, the first probably 30 seconds on a 5-minute timer are you trying to figure out what the hell you're supposed to be doing. Eventually, we got to the point where we had the guy who's wearing the glasses just describe the bomb to us.
Yeah.
So he has a bomb. He realizes he can turn it around and look at the back and the sides and stuff, and has to describe how many wires there are, what color the wires are, what the order of the wires is.
So it's a different bomb every time.
Different bomb every time. I mean, presumably, I don't know. We only played it once.
Yeah.
Because there was a pretty good line most of the time. You had keypads and batteries and all sorts of different stuff. You had to decode symbols, and so the person wearing the glasses had to describe the symbols. The goggles. Yeah. The people on the notebook had to figure out which symbols they were talking about, and you ended up talking about things like, oh yeah, it's the one with the chair and all this, and then the puzzles to decode the bombs were actually a series of usually fairly nested logic puzzles. So, for example, there'd be like 10 wires, and it would be like, if the last wire is black, then do this, unless the next wire is green, or the last 2 wires are opposite colors, or, and it ended up being it was super fun. It was another one of those things I would have turned around and gone right back in and done again.
So the line wasn't so long, but the last day.
Does everybody want the goggles, or is it fun to play?
It was fun. I didn't play as the goggles, and I had a really good time.
Cool.
Yeah. So, and of course, the people who have the notebook can't see,
of course,
what's on the screen either.
Right.
The thing that was interesting about it is it seemed like a really good way to kind of share the Oculus when you first get it. Like, hey, I got my new Oculus. You guys want to come over and try it out?
Because you only have one.
And then it's not like 3 people sitting in the room waiting to try the Oculus.
Totally.
And share pink eye with everybody else. So,
so is this going to be a commercial game?
Seems like it. Yeah, it seems like they were very coy. They said they were talking to people about it. I think we'll see if we can get a build from them. We can try on do an Oculus live stream at some point in the not too distant future and try it out there. But I was like, it's the first thing that I've seen out of Oculus. Like, we've seen a lot of virtual cockpits and a lot of cool jump scares and stuff like that, but it's the first virtual reality game that I've seen that was like something completely different, that would be that uses the virtual reality both in the way that it isolates you from the rest of the room, right, and for the 3D and all the being able to look around. And
it uses that isolation for the game.
For the game, yeah. It's important that the game wouldn't work without that isolation. So, and speaking of Oculus, is that anything else for you from PAX?
That's it.
You're good?
That's good.
You went to the EMP one day?
Yes, the Experience Music Project. Best museum on the West Coast.
Wow. Bold words. This morning, Samsung and Oculus revealed the Gear VR.
Innovators Edition.
Innovator. Sorry, that means it's early and you're paying for beta stuff.
Yes.
Yep.
Basically, what the Gear VR is like, it's a case into which you jam a Samsung Galaxy Note 4.
Not out yet.
Not out yet. And then you strap that on your head like a pair of goggles, and you have access to an Android version of the Oculus experience. It's powered by Oculus. They provide software, and presumably they had something to do with the gyroscopes and accelerometers and stuff that are inside the phone.
I don't think they did.
You don't think so?
No, I think they want to. It's the first stage for a common platform for all Android for mobile VR, and Samsung's got it first.
Well, the write-up on that Oculus sent out to their Kickstarter backers said something about custom sensors. But I don't know if
on
those,
the phone.
I don't know. I don't know
Wow.
if those are external or if they worked on the internals. But they definitely worked at the kernel level of Android.
Which they said that's what one of the things Carmack's been working on for
Right.
the last X number of months.
I think it's been his main thing.
Yeah. This explains a little bit more about why the Galaxy Note screen, like a screen that says Samsung on it, is inside the Oculus DK2.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool that it's an untethered VR experience. I'd love to try that.
Yep.
But I don't know. I don't have any intention to buy that phone.
Yeah, so it's a high-end, super high-end phone. We're talking about a massive phone, 5.7 inches, which can be bigger than both your iPhone 6s.
How expensive is it unlocked?
They have not said. That phone is also announced today at IFA, coming out in October worldwide. But you can assume it's a Note, so it'll have a stylus and it'll have all your other fancy stuff.
Have previous ones been iPhone prices?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. If not more. The Notes are typically they're higher end ones.
50 or $100 more sometimes.
And it is a 1440p display, which is not surprising. And the phone, this is the only phone that will work with this Gear VR, which is an accessory. They added some extra controls to the side. And then Oculus is also developing software. So there's a whole UI Oculus Home experience for buying stuff.
There's like a store, right?
That's the Oculus Home.
Yeah.
There's the Cinema,
Which
which we've
looks-
seen before.
I mean, just one shot's been released, but it looks pretty cool. A variety of environments that you can watch any of your movies on.
It has some 3D trailers for 3D movies. Is there a way to get 3D movies on Android now?
What do you mean? Can't you just
In
put
Google-
whatever movies
yeah,
you want on
I
there?
mean, a distribution system. I'm sure there are distribution hubs that specialize in that, but this will be one of those. Yeah, I don't. None of us here plan on getting a Galaxy Note 4 as their primary phones, so
I mean,
it's not a lot of value for us.
There's probably a lot of Oculus hardcore fans who are probably just going to buy it unlocked for this. Like this, it's not going to be their phone. It's just going to be their portable Oculus.
I think it's too expensive. We're talking about unlocked phones being in the $600, $700
yeah, it's crazy expensive.
price range. But why would they do that? And the big difference between this experience and the current DK2 experience is there are a bunch of trade-offs. You have high resolution screen, which says yes. This consumer Rift is going to have at least this screen, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the reasons this partnership exists and so much effort was put in this is one, they want Oculus Mobile SDK. That's part of their strategy because portable virtual reality is a big deal. In addition to the tethered PC gaming experience, and they want access to those panels. So we're going to get 1440p.
DK2 is a Note 3 panel, right?
I think it's a Note 3 panel.
Okay.
1080p Note 3 AMOLED. So we're going to see, and that will be interesting for the Note 4 because there's a big difference between LCD and AMOLED, and a 1440p AMOLED. We don't know what that looks like up in front of our eyes.
Oh, this is an LCD.
This is AMOLED.
Oh, this is AMOLED.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm saying other people. I mean, the options were if they were looking for panel
Right, right,
suppliers, could have been LCD or AMOLED. And it looks like if this is the trajectory they're going in, and they got the ramp up for production, it looks like will be very similar to the panel that they're going to use. They might get custom hardware for lower latency.
So this is gyroscope accelerometer. There's no depth cam, obviously, unless they're doing something tricky with the camera on the phone.
No, they said no positional tracking.
Okay.
3 degrees of freedom.
There,
not 6.
there is a pass-through button, so you can hit a button on the thing, and then it'll show you a video from the camera, which points out the front of the phone.
That's pretty cool.
So you can see around you theoretically, which is nice. No price yet. No release
No
date.
price. They said this year.
This fall.
This fall for sure. So
So-
with the Note coming out October, it's got to be.
Oh, I thought it was after that. Maybe not.
The Note's going to come out October,
Okay.
so
okay.
who knows?
So is the SDK.
Yeah, and SEA is coming October, so maybe soon after that. This
what-
kind of accessory's got to be at least $100.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking $100 but it's not much more than a few buttons and a holder for the screen. Just,
Well, if there's extra
And the
electronics in it, maybe
optics.
there is.
I don't know how many electronics there are. They haven't said.
Well, they said there's like accelerometer, the gyro, and the proximity stuff is all built in.
To what?
I think
the
that's-
goggles?
I think it's built into the goggles.
Okay.
96-degree field of view, less than 20 seconds
That's less than DK2.
latency. I guess you're right.
Yeah.
96. What was DK2? 100?
100.
And that was reduced from DK1's 110.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wrong
Um,
direction. Go
I
wider.
haven't noticed it with the DK2 yet.
I do.
Sorry, Jeremy.
USB 1.1 connection to the Note 4.
Really?
I don't know.
High tech.
That's what it says. There's no weight on it.
It looked so. One of the interesting things to me about the design of the shell is I wonder if it's a Samsung design or an Oculus design or a Samsung plus Oculus design.
Yeah.
Because like it is a more comfortable looking head mount. It looked like
It does look lighter.
It's still a top head mount.
it's still,
top band.
but they put a hard plastic thing on the front here on the top of your head, which presumably will grip a little bit better or distribute the weight a little more evenly.
Grip better. From
I
the
don't
photo
know.
of and a photo of people using it, there's one photo of John Carmack using this.
Does he look cool?
Don't they
cool
look
as John
smaller?
Carmack.
Isn't that funny that it looks smaller, given that it's a bigger screen than the DK2?
Well, Carmack has a really big head.
You think that's
I don't
just
think
a
he does.
scale issue?
Oh well.
The-
It looks like that top hard part is then connected to a soft strap, and the top hard part is just for bracing. It's instead of it being a soft strap all the way across the top, you have a hard section that braces the top of your forehead, but that hard part isn't locked into the Oculus as like one solid piece.
Here's the thing that worries me about this is Samsung has tried to do their own thing multiple times in the past. I mean, they tried to do it with the watches and kind of bombed out with that. They've tried to do their own custom UIs in the past, and that has been a pretty abysmal failure. I'm interested. Like, I don't think that Samsung has the legs to make this happen on a platform level. I think it has to come from Google or Apple or Microsoft or somebody else who owns an actual platform, not just Samsung. I think
Doesn't the Oculus partnership mean anything? I mean, they're potentially going to develop.
that's the
platform.
wild card, I guess. Right? Is that Oculus is the leader in this right now. It was interesting that Sony didn't have any Morpheus stuff at PAX, too. Like I kind of think they don't know what to do with that exactly. Like I don't know if anybody knows what to do with VR stuff, and maybe this is the easiest way to get VR out there. Is that now Samsung's gonna a year from now you'll be able to get one of these for whatever Samsung phone you happen to buy.
The other interesting thing is no headphones for this built
Well,
in.
your earbuds, right?
Yes, but like you would think that all-in-one system would.
You know, I will say, if you were on an airplane and you had a Note 4 as your phone, this is a great media center. It's a great way to watch a movie.
Lean back and
That's true.
navigate with just your head turning and watch a 3D movie, walk through Tony Stark's lab. For us, for our purposes, there's no way to show the content here. Whatever content we're
How to demo
viewing.
it?
Yeah, demo
Yeah,
it.
there's already a video Will was showing me. There's
Yeah, Ben Gilbert over at Engadget was describing with words
just
what he was seeing.
talk shit through VR.
It's the same thing we had with the Google Cardboard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what this. I don't know. I think this is essentially a developer kit. They're just not saying, "Hey, this is a developer kit." We're putting this out there so you can build Android apps that use VR. And also, there is no way to get 3D movies for Android right now that I'm aware of. I did a little bit of Googling. While
But
guys
can't
were
you just
talking.
copy your own 3D movies on there? Like what?
You can rip them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that illegal?
I don't know if it's illegal. I don't know what the formats look like. I don't know what the formats look like for converting 3D Blu-ray to 3D MP4 or MKV or whatever.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what the player supports, I
Well,
guess.
it's just side by side. You know, usually the 1080
I know.
half resolution side by side.
Well, but I guess the video player will take that 1080 half resolution and skew it for the goggles. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
I think it's really cool that that there's this new thing coming from Oculus, but I was a little disappointed that this was what Carmack was working on, because I was hoping that he'd be focusing on some something for the PC, maybe enhancing the DK, the consumer version hardware, working on a platform for the store, or something else for the PC. A game, perhaps.
My hunch is that this is a thing. This is a product that exists to get Oculus a better deal on panels and to get them the hardware. If you look at what they need for panels for VR versus what you need for panels for phones and TVs and everything else in the world, they have much lower latency requirements. They have all the on-off strobing stuff.
Yeah.
Like all of that is going to require.
This is a favor to
This
Samsung?
is the thing that Samsung wanted in exchange for building panels for them. And if Samsung's doing those changes on a Galaxy Note 4 scale, so it's not their best-selling phone, it's not a massive mass market ultra phone, but it's a phone that still sells millions of units, then that lets them get the cost down and gets the cost down on the panels for the Oculus.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I think that's what we're looking at here.
And if the mobile experience is the bare bones, like the lowest end hardware, and he's talking about developing drivers and stuff, so you're guaranteed a certain level of performance, that all feeds back up to PCs, because we're all worried about what Oculus can be like on a PC when not everyone has a super high-end PC to run those games.
And honestly, if this thing is just a plastic shell, I mean, if it ends up being just a plastic shell, then it's the kind of thing that Oculus could conceivably, and Samsung could give away if you buy $50 worth of credit in the Oculus store, they'll send you the goggles. Mm. You know what I mean? You get the goggles for essentially free.
Did you see all the technical stuff that's in the mobile SDK that Carmack worked on?
No.
The list of technical things.
Like what?
Oh
yeah, I did. It was it was jumbledy joke.
But that's the stuff that we want on the PC side that is just debuting first year.
But that's all low-level Android hacking. I mean, it's not going to.
No. Like the stuff talking about the enabling asynchronous time warp.
Yeah.
Like we want that. I mean, there is some of that, and that will make its way up to the PC SDK. But yes, a lot of it is making it work on a mobile phone.
Yeah. Which eventually will probably be what we're all using anyway. 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Less maybe.
Should we talk about anything else? There was a couple other things from IFA that were kind of interesting. I mean, obviously they announced the Galaxy Note 4. Sony introduced a tablet that is now a PS4 live streaming endpoint, including an accessory that you can clip a DualShock 4, clip your tablet onto a DualShock 4 or a DualShock 4 onto a tablet, depending on how you look at it, which seems kind of interesting. That the live streaming to Vita works really well. I've been playing Diablo laying in bed at night from my PlayStation on the Vita. It's a real dark time right now. A lot of Sony phones. Sony's on board with Galaxy with Android Gear watches, Google Gear watches for their watch. They have a 320 by 320 transflective display watch coming out soon. I think that's it. That's all the stuff that I saw so far. That IFA stuff is still going on, though.
What's transflective?
It means that remember the original GBA?
Sure.
It had a transflective screen, so that meant that it will work in sunlight. So it'll use sunlight to bounce off of to reflect light back behind the LCD pixels and then blast them out. It'll also use a backlight if you need one, or a front light that does the same thing.
Sounds good for a watch.
Sounds like being able to see it outside in the bright sun seems important.
Bonus.
Probably longer battery life too.
I would think so, yeah. Intel this week at PAX actually announced their 8-core consumer CPUs.
Oh, the $1,000 CPU.
I'll tell you a secret, Jeremy.
Ooh.
Since the dawn of time,
that's why I come here.
Intel's highest-end consumer CPU has cost $1,000.
Extreme Edition.
Right. Before it was called the Extreme Edition, it was just called like a Pentium 3 500. That one was $1,000 too. I don't know why you need an 8-core CPU for consumers on the desktop anymore.
It's lower clock speed than their
Quad.
Devil's Canyon, that their quad, or even their 4 gigahertz dual core CPU.
Yeah.
But what about that DDR4 magic? Is that
yes, that's where the magic is. So
is that good?
This is the first consumer CPU, and 8 cores. Like in the past, server cores have gone up to 12 cores. They've had dual CPUs that you can put in a motherboard, right? The Sculptural stuff.
So that was,
and that was also
that was quad core. For
yes,
Sculptural.
two quad. Two cores for quad core.
Right. If you want to do a server, though, you can get 24 cores on a blade, no problem.
No problem.
That's not a big deal.
If you want to build a PC at home, though, your past best option was an Ivy Bridge E, which was an 8-core, but 2 of the cores blocked off, so you had only access 6 cores.
Hexacore, yeah.
So now you have 8 actual cores, hyper-threaded, so 16 virtual cores plus clock speeds 3 gigahertz goes up to 3.5. Overclock it. People have done it to 4.5, no problem. And it's all for video encoding and 3D modeling. So if you run a lot of ray tracing.
Is it going to get me full frame rate in Elite Dangerous?
No, I think you probably need a bigger video card
still
for
GPU.
that.
That's still GPU. That's all still GPU.
I think this is for people who are doing video encodes that on stuff that doesn't use CUDA or OpenCL. Maybe like your raw processing apps are probably not CUDA or OpenCL accelerated yet.
Photos,
D noise filters and stuff like that are CPU bound. Like that's why I don't know who this is for exactly.
But it is the platform they're also launching DDR4 on.
Yeah,
which will make its way down to the lower end desktop chipsets.
So it's a new chipset at the end of the Ivy Bridge era before Broadwell. And presumably we'll see another new chipset with Broadwell next year. Like this seems like not a thing you should buy, but I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Like I think you're better off getting unless you have really specific needs for lots of cores, like you're using Handbrake to rip DVDs. You should probably just get a quad core, hexacore, and a giant ass video card,
or two.
Yeah, or two. For $1,000, you can get 2 780s.
Now, don't we expect new video cards this month? So realistically,
is it this month or it'll be before?
I heard this month.
Okay, yeah, maybe then.
So maybe wait on that.
Yeah, it seems like it's a wait on a lot of stuff right now.
Is it?
Yeah.
I want to upgrade now. My PC is 5 years old.
It's time. You need more frames in Elite.
I do.
Sorry, Jeremy. It's not time yet. Wait.
I have the CPU right there, Jeremy. Right there.
You're not supposed to talk about that yet.
I can have that.
Oh, you can talk about it? Okay.
Yeah. Reviews are out.
Oh, okay.
I just need some DDR4. Where's a good DDR4? They're expensive.
Crucial.
Yeah, DDR4 is crazy expensive.
Crazy expensive
is
right
it?
now. Yeah.
Well, what is it? $80 for 12 gigs of DDR3. What is 12 gigs of DDR4 cost? Can you even get
that's
it?
cheap for 12 gigs of cheese. I think DDR3, and I haven't bought DDR3 in a while. It did stabilize. There's a plummeting of prices.
I thought I just checked. It was like twice that.
Yeah, it's
16 gigs is $182.
It's
for
like 10
the
bucks,
high end stuff.
It's like $10 a gig at DDR3.
Yeah, that seems right.
At DDR4, it's I think maybe 5 times that. I think I saw for 8 gigs it was like $400.
Can you buy ECC because server memory is cheap because they've been doing DDR4 and servers for a long time?
I don't think you can. I'm not sure.
ECC is a little slower anyway. We're running out of time here, so I'm going to blow through a couple of things real fast. The Russian zero-G sex geckos died in orbit. Did you hear about this? They launched a bunch of geckos, 5 geckos in a satellite. Something happened. The geckos came back mummified. It's basically the beginning of the Andromeda strain. We don't know if they were able to successfully copulate in space, but
they do.
I don't think they do anymore.
Oh, no. The mystery of the Death Valley moving rocks solved finally.
How did they solve this, Norm?
They put a fuck ton of sensors on the rocks, including accelerometers, time-lapse cameras, and magnetic field sensors.
Modern cavemen putting sensors on rocks.
On rocks, because the rocks mysteriously move.
Yeah, the rocks mysteriously move. Nobody could figure out how that happened.
Like a
giant
enormous distance.
Yeah.
Enormous, and leave a trail. It just turns out that the rocks were pushed on ice by ice.
So ice was
Very
pooling
thin
underneath
ice.
them and freezing and pushing them?
A very thin ice. A large amount of very thin ice with the right winds shifted the rocks, and because it was very, very thin ice, you couldn't tell.
I don't believe this.
Yeah,
I think
millimeters
it was
thin.
moon men.
I like it. I like your theory, Will.
Apple this morning posted App Store review guidelines for app rejection and listed common reasons that apps are rejected. Everybody should read this if they're interested in that stuff. It was a kind of crazy list.
Well, there's a lot of. It's about the new technologies. It's about HomeKit and the other new ones. HealthKit, and then what will get you rejected if you don't abide by these new rules.
Well, it also has all the old guidelines into which I guess maybe I'd never looked at before. But they talk about it being the only place that they curate in their iTunes ecosystem. And the list of the function, Section 2 the lists of apps with functionality that will be rejected. Apps that crash will be rejected. Apps that exhibit bugs will be rejected. And there's like 70 of those. It just keeps going. It never stops.
Is there really an if your app is creepy, it will be rejected line?
I don't think creepy. I'm going to... Wait, nope, yep. If your app doesn't do something useful, unique, or provide some sort of lasting entertainment, or if your app is just plain creepy, it will not be accepted. May not be accepted. If your app looks like it was cobbled together in a few days, or you're just trying to get your first practice app into the store to impress your friends, please brace yourself for rejection. We have lots of serious developers who don't want their quality apps to be surrounded by amateur hour.
Oh, too late.
We will reject apps for any content or behavior that we believe is over the line. What line, you ask? Well, as a Supreme Court justice once said, I'll know it when I see it. And we think that you will also know it when you cross it. There's a there's a line in here that basically says, don't bitch about this on the internet. That's going to make us not like you very much either. If you get rejected, just deal with it. I think the good news is they actually do tell people most of the time when they're rejected what they were rejected for now. Like, if the app crashes all the time. Like, there wasn't that. I think that having this document, even though it's a little cheeky, is better than not having the document, which is the way they used to do app rejections.
I was glad to see that the health kit rejection stuff is pretty strict as well. So if you share any of that information, you're out.
Yeah.
If you don't disclose what you're using it for, if you don't have FCC or whoever is providing a permission to do health, analysis. If you don't have that kind of analysis permission, then you can't do it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think that's it for news. Twitter is putting stuff that's not in your timeline. That sucks.
Samsung has a phone called the Galaxy Note Edge, where the screen is curved on one side and it folds over. The screen, the right side of the screen goes over the edge on a curve, and it seems like it's not very useful. I think the idea is that because you hold the phone with one hand like this, you have better access to launchers. If like this, meaning
like on the right, you're holding your thumb on the right side of the phone. You can use your thumb
to tap icons. But in one Verge report, it said that even the Samsung reps didn't know exactly what the best way to use that was.
I'm going to play some music real quick, and then we're going to talk about 3D printing. Jeremy Williams, we have both been spending a lot of time with the PrinterBot Simple Metal.
Yeah.
And Octopi lately. How's your printing going?
Well, this is one of the latest ones.
Ooh, you brought something in.
I've taken to printing out assemblies, which are multiple parts that you assemble together. My favorite ones are...
That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Yeah, 3D printed.
The coolest ones are the ones that don't require glue, because I think that requires a more clever structure.
Mm-hmm.
This one is a spring-powered car.
How many hours of printing is that, would you say?
Wasn't that many, because all the parts are pretty thin. I would say maybe 8 hours.
Okay, that's not too bad.
But so it winds up.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
That is the coolest thing ever.
So the spring is made from PLA plastic, which I thought.
Wait.
Ingenious.
Hold on. So there's a gearing system. So
it works like a clock spring.
You hold the back wheels and then wind it up. Yeah.
So I tried to print this ages ago with ABS, and the spring doesn't work with ABS.
Interesting.
It's not springy enough.
Now, one of the notes was to do it 100% infill.
Oh, on the spring part only?
And the handle for it.
Okay. So this is completely solid on the spring.
Yeah.
And the handle.
Yeah.
So I wrote up my kind of... Last week, Joey's out on vacation, so I took the PrinterBot Simple home last week and basically spent, let's say, some hours in between doing other things, noodling around with it. And finally got it to a place where I was printing stuff that's pretty awesome. I printed that robot that you brought in last time you were here.
You printed the big one.
I printed the 150% one, which is like, when you stand him up, he's like 7 inches tall.
Mine was like 60%. That's amazing.
Yeah. It worked. It worked really well. I had a lot of failures on the 60% one, but I had to do some... Like, I had to build a spool holder and some other stuff to deal with the plastic because I was getting a lot of feeding problems. And once I built... I wrote a post about it on Friday that you can go see, but...
How long did it take?
32 hours, maybe, of actual print time. I paused it a couple of times.
And can you see where you had paused it?
No.
Cool.
No, I was worried about that, but it adhered really well. I'm really impressed with that printer. Like, it's a really, really solid printer. And we talked a lot of shit about the instructions for it when we were putting it together. but they have completely updated them. It seems like so.
You chose the right one to do that feature with. Your
build.
5-part build.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it's sold in a couple at least.
No, we got a lot of email and comments from people saying, "Hey, I bought one of these." So,
Like from Jeremy.
yeah, we've sold at least one. So yeah, if you want to check that out, if you bought one and you're having trouble getting it working, I shared my stuff. A lot of it involves tape, the right kind of tape. I just went to Ace one day and bought every kind of masking tape that was colored that they had, and I think it's the 3M Multi-Surface 2090 is the one that I had the best luck with.
That's the stickiest?
That's the stickiest without being too sticky.
All right.
So I had some that would stick really well to the platform, but the stuff wouldn't stick to. Like the green heavy-duty painter's tape would stick awesome to the platform, but the stuff didn't stick well to it. Always alcohol, both the platform and then the tape after you put it down to get any fingerprint oil off, or manufacturing residue if the printer's brand new.
I'm thinking I'm going to end up going with a heated platform just because I'm still getting warps with big prints. But I'm going to try this tape you suggest as a last measure.
Does the heated platform, one of the things I found to stop warping here is just to step away, close the door to the room.
Oh, no, I did that. Man.
Okay.
I did that. I do the alcohol on both sides. I do it all. But there are people in your comment threads here on tested.com that have said he had the same problem, got a heated platform, and now no more warps
Oh yeah,
at all.
heated platform helps a ton.
Okay.
Like the difference between heated platform, like with PLA, you technically don't need a heated platform, but since you can't enclose that printer, so that if a draft hits it, then it doesn't cool faster on one side than the other.
Right.
Because that's what drafts do. Then the heated platform helps level those problems out. You can put a heated platform with some Kapton at 60 Celsius, and it sticks like glue. And then when you cool that platform down, it just pops right off because they cool at different rates. It's a really good way to do your printing. I like the heated platform a lot. Is it an aluminum platform or is it a glass platform? The one that they sell.
I don't know.
Okay. Because I love the automatic leveling thing on that so that you don't have to keep leveling the platform.
Oh, that's a good point.
And if it's glass, that won't work anymore.
Oh, gosh. No, it must be aluminum because I need that. I need that sensor.
Yeah. Anything else? I'm writing about Octopi. It'll be up later this week, but it's awesome. It is an awesome way to control the printer and gets Repetier out of your way, which made me happy.
Yeah, you can't drop your sliced STL files straight onto there sometimes, though, especially the ones off Thingiverse. You have to have them repaired first. Have you run into non-manifold objects?
I have not had a problem with non-manifold objects yet.
I would say about a quarter of the objects I've tried have had issues. And so I have to have them repaired first using the Microsoft free service.
Yeah.
And then, it always does it. And then you just slice that instead.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I will. You sent me a link to that. I did that with the MakerBot robot, but it didn't need it. Yeah. I think that's it. We'll talk about the rest of the stuff next week because we're just about out of time. We'll do questions next week as well. So if you have questions, send them into podcast@tested.com. Next week is an Apple announcement week.
Woohoo! Oh my
September
God.
9th is iPhones.
Will you be back to do some iPhone discussion?
I said I would come in today only if you would have me again next week.
Okay.
Oh, well.
We will have you anytime you want to come, Jeremy. Quick last minute. If you're before we see the announcement,
predictions?
Small screen, big screen are the same phone inside. Which one are you getting, Jeremy?
Small.
Norm, are you going to get an iPhone?
I might get the big one. See what it's like.
Just to see what's up. Is this a buy and return situation for you? Are you ready?
No,
are you done with your Android experiment?
I have credit from AT&T. Why I'm paying them I do a subsidy this week.
Okay.
This month.
So you're ready to jump off the Android wagon?
No, I'm ready to make sure AT&T pays me.
Why not get the latest Android phone though? They have a lot of hot phones coming out right now.
I have the latest Android phone.
Okay. So that's on Tuesday. I doubt they're streaming this one. I would be surprised if they are.
It's not even at their. It's on their campus. It's not. It's
in Foster?
in Cupertino. It's in Cupertino, not in San Francisco.
It's someplace that they haven't done it in a long time, right?
Yeah.
Foster City
It's
Auditorium
where they
or
unveiled
something.
the original Mac and the new iMacs back in the day.
Huh. Maybe it's a Mac thing. Who knows? We will, of course, have coverage of that and all sorts of other stuff. Norm, how's your arcade build going?
It's good. Electronics are coming up next. Well, that might be giving them too much away. We'll see. Go find out on the site next week.
Send in your questions. We'll do a bunch of questions next week after the Apple festivities. Thanks for listening, and as always, rate us on iTunes, stuff like that if you like the show, or if you don't, that's fine too. You can rate us there too. Today's outro comes from Deck of Many Things. See you guys next week. Hi there, I didn't see you.
Test it.
Obviously, so the object of the game is to be the person at the end with the most space rocks.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Test it.
So you just described hungry hippos.
There are no other rules.